In this video, we're going to be talking about how you could trade oil and how to consistently make profit while at it. Now, for over plus 2 years now, I've been trading oil consistently, and I've done this alongside my Telegram channel, which I'm going to leave the link in the video description for you to do check out and see how I've been able to make profits like this and also stay consistent with it. You see, when it comes to trading oil, oil is a commodity that has its own fundamentals that makes it move and super volatile. We're going to be looking at all of these things, as well as the best times to trade oil, the most volatile hour of the day trading oil, and the seasons you need to also stay away from trading oil, which is very important. So over time, I've traded this instrument and I've been able to, handpick all of these things and see how it works, which we're going to look at it, and also my take on trading oil. So by the way, if you're new to the YouTube channel, now will be the best time for you to hit that subscribe button, turn on your post notifications so that you don't miss a thing when I drop new updates like this, as we're also going to be doing the same kind of video for trading indices, as we already have one on the channel about gold, and there's still more follow-up videos that will be coming in. Let's get right into the video. So over here on my screen, you could see I have some notes. These are like my major bullet points that will be able to talk on this subject matter very well so that I don't miss a thing. So do make sure you take notes, because this is going to be a masterclass. If you don't have your pen and paper with you, pause the video and get one, because we're going to be diving into a lot of stuff, and I'm going to also have timestamps in the video description to highlight key moments that you could also go through so that you don't miss a thing. So firstly, here on this side of my screen, if you look at this here, we're going to start off with understanding oil itself, because of it's a commodity. Now, oil is one of the most sought after commodity when it comes to commodities on the global scale. So this is largely because oil is in one of those things that has a high demand for manufacturing, automobiles, and so on and so forth. In as much as the world is transitioning into using EVs and sustainable energy, clean energy, and all of that, oil still has a very strong demand, and it has a very important role in the economy at large. So when it comes to oil itself, it has three major drivers, which is the fundamental, which is the biggest of all, the technicals, which is basically your charts, then sentiment as well. Now I'm going to be looking at all of the variables here, and also I'm going to give you guys my take on it, how I do combine one or two of these things to be able to take informed decisions. Now firstly, let's look at the fundamental side of things here when it comes to trading oil. So the fundamental drivers for oil has to do with the global drivers. Now, what are the global drivers? The major global driver is global economic growth, which when we have stronger economic growth across the globe, we're also going to be having stronger demand for oil. Now, when this happens, we'll be having a bullish scenario for oil, and the other way around, when there's recession or economic decline, we also have like decline or no need for oil, which I'm also going to more details on these two major categories as we move on with the session. Now the next we want to look at is the supply drivers. Now, what are the supply drivers? So basically this has to do with economics 101, where you all know that basic things around supply and demand. Now when something is in high demand but there's a little supply, that price of that thing is going to go up. On the reverse, when there is a huge supply of something and there is a little demand, the price is going to crash, because most people don't want that, and that thing has so much supply in the market. So this has to do with increased oil production. When producers like OPEC pump more oil and raise the supply, prices will fall basically. So that's about it. Then the other thing we want to look at as well is also disruption of the global supply of oil. So when it comes to global supply chains, we're looking at a crisis that is breaking out around the Red Sea, or all of those supply pipelines and what's not as well. So once there is like a problem around the global supply, the price of oil is going to go up, because this supply is not being able to get to the end user, and hence, like I said earlier on, because of the demand or the nature of how oil is and the need for it, without a supply, prices will go up. So moving on from this, I want to look at the second thing which we have here, which is like the key players and how geopolitics usually affect oil. Now, geopolitics in itself is one of the major biggest driver of oil. Now, this has to do with looking at the league of oil producers, which is known as OPEC. Now, this group of countries, we're looking at, Russia, Saudi Arabia, countries in the Middle East, and what's not. Now, these countries basically they are countries which undergo production. Now, once you have an issue with production and they still demand for it, it's a no-brainer that the price of oil is going to react massively. Okay, that's one other thing. Then the next thing to note here is sentiment and speculation around prices of oil. Now, sentiment has to do with if traders expect price of oil to rise, they keep buying at an early price and push prices up, and if traders expect oil prices to fall, they sell and it push prices down. Now, for this part of the analysis we're looking at, sentiment is not really one of the major drivers of oil. It's this guy when it comes to oil, geopolitical stuffs that happens a lot. Then the third we have here, we have the technical side of things. Now, when it comes to technicals, we're looking at the overall long-term areas where oil usually reacts massively. We're looking at $50 per barrel and around $85 to $90 per barrel. This is like the historical price level where oil do usually find a base, which is like a support and resistance basically. Okay, so when we see oil dropping below $50 per barrel, it usually goes into that bearish mode, and over time it recovers fast and comes back up, and the highest it usually trades around is around the 85 to 90 dollar per barrel price point. So we're going to look at that when we get to the technical part. So this is like a highlight. Now, the other thing to note also is the most volatile time to trade oil. Now, the most volatile time to trade oil is usually around New York session. Now, largely because of more volumes is going to enter the market, more announcement around things around OPEC, things around oil inventories are also going to be dropping in the markets around this time zone. Now, for me here, for my time zone, it's usually between 1 p.m. to 4 to 5 p.m. GMT plus 1. Now, let's talk about oil inventories. Now, oil inventories is one of those key data that affects oil. Oil inventory has to do with reporting the quantity of oil that has been produced, the quantity that has been stored, and the quantity readily available to be supplied. Basically, just about the numbers at large. Now, this oil inventory also is a very important key, fundamental numbers that when it comes out, it also do spice things up in the oil market, in the oil space, while trading oil at large as well. Now, the next thing again to look at here is when we look at this segment here, this is what we're going to talk about, strategy, how to approach oil as a whole. Now, like I said earlier on, when it comes to the technical parts, your basic fundamental analysis works very well here. Also, high impact news also do affect oil aside the inventories, but the inventories are usually the one that's unique to oil. Now, geopolitical tensions also is the biggest and the major driver. Now, when you have countries that are linked with production of oil are having some tensions, maybe there is looming sentiment of war that's coming, or maybe there's sanctions and so on and so forth, usually you get to find oil becoming very, very super volatile. You don't get to find this kind of stuff happening all the time because it's not something good at large. We are not looking forward to having wars or all of these things, but the only thing here is because these countries are at the heart of production, and once there's any major thing happening around this region, it's going to spice up volatility with oil. Then also we have like unexpected events. These ones too, like CPI, do affect oil, but not as much as the other ones I've mentioned. The unexpected events, like when we had the lockdown, during that time period, oil had zero demand. All of the oil that had been produced prior to when the lockdown happened, when everything was shut down, all of those oil was not being sold. Nobody needed it because everybody was at home. There was no manufacturing going on. There was no global growth going on, expansion. What happened was oil, tanked. We're going to look at that shortly now. So let's take a look at oil chart. So moving on to this section of commodity here, take a look at oil. So let's go to the weekly time frame or the weekly chart. Now, if you look at oil at large, if I zoom out, let's take a look at what we had, the lockdown period. So this is when we had oil trading into the negative territory. We traded all the way to minus $10 per barrel for oil. Oil was sitting around this price, which was relatively very okay, $65 per barrel before this happened and oil prices crashed. But because of OPEC was in place to help oil to pick up in its price and all of that, when everything started easing up, you can see that oil recovered very fast. And the recovery didn't just happen. Oil also went on to create new all-time high, hitting the $130 per barrel, which is like the highest price over time. Now, during when we had the Russian sanctions coming in, oil was also at the heart of it. This was when I traded oil like consistently, and that season was when oil was producing lots of volatility, lots of opportunities versus other asset class. We also need to be able to read in between the lines to know when are those times when these things are happening and double down on oil trading. Oil doesn't always give that volatile movement. That's one thing you need to note. It's something that happens seasonal based off all of these things I've mentioned so far. So one other thing to note when it comes to trading oil is we have two types of oil. We have the WTI, which is the West Texas Intermediate oil, and we have Brent Crude. There are two different types of oil variants here. I've traded both of them, and we're going to leave like some screenshots on the screen so that you see them. Now I'm going to mention the key differences. But before we do that, if you're not subscribed to the channel, do make sure you pause the video, smash the like button to support the channel, and so that the algorithm will recognize that this channel is doing well and push this video further, as it's going to be beneficial to me and the channel as well. And also make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on your post notifications so that you don't miss any update when I drop new videos like this. As it is, I still have videos I'm working on when it comes to indices I'm going to drop as well, and you don't want to miss on that. As well as we have gold video, which I'm also going to be linking in the video description, and you see it on the right hand side of your screen at the end of this video. Now looking at this here, WTI USD is the one I've settled for to trade the most. Reason being because it's much more having it, like it has a much better pricing, and also when you look at oil at large on trading view, you're going to find tons of oil. You have all of these different variations of oil. They all have different price markup, but the price actions are usually the same. But for me, I prefer this one here, which is the US oil from TVC. That's the feed I'm using. Now let's talk about trading oil on brokerage or prop firm. Now I've traded oil on both brokerage and prop firm. I traded it largely on prop firm, and that was where I was able to go hard on it and close lots of profits, which I liquidated from my funded account. All of these things happened with my public channel. Is on the Telegram. You can check that out once again. Now when it comes to brokerage here, I've used Xness, I've used FX Life Capital, and some other brokers as well, but I got the best result from FX Life. You could also use the link in the video description to sign up to get started, and as well as I encourage you to also check out different brokerage and see the different experience you're going to get. The contract sizing varies from broker to broker based off the liquidity and all of those things in between. You will not know this except when you trade it for yourself, and you're going to find out. Now I hope this video has been helpful to you. If you learned a thing or two, do leave a comment in the comment section. Do let us know also your experience trading oil, if you've done that in the past, or after watching this video, come back and let us know. Until next time guys, keep it simple and do make sure you watch the video on your screen. Cheers, I'll see you on the next one.